All right, another massive day for crypto airdrop updates. So let's hop into the biggest news from today, which is that Layer Zero Labs announced their Sybil filtering criteria. Now, this announcement has been nothing short of controversial. So let's go over to the blog post and dig into exactly how they're going to be weeding out Sybils. And in case you have no idea what that word means, basically they're trying to exclude people that aren't unique individual users. They're trying to get rid of bots and people that are trying to farm these airdrops with tens or hundreds or sometimes even thousands of wallets. And so this afternoon, they dropped this blog post addressing Sybil activity and describing how they're going to be excluding people. So what they're saying is that if you are a single entity with tens, hundreds, or thousands of addresses, you're an industrial farmer. But then they also included people that minted valueless NFTs for the purpose of moving it around chains. Now, a lot of us, probably the majority of people that have interacted with Layer Zero at some point have done that. Applications like Merkly and also L2Pass have these features where you can mint these generic valueless NFTs and you can bridge them between different chains. And the purpose of doing this is to interact with the Layer Zero protocol. So I've talked about this on the channel before. I've definitely used these applications, especially Merkly, and many people have done the same. And then it goes on to say that if you use popular Sybil farming applications such as Merkly and L2Pass and a bunch of other ones as well, then you could be excluded as well. And now they're not just talking about the NFTs, I suppose, but also the other features that you can use Merkly for, including the gas refuel, which in my opinion is a legitimate use case of this application. If you need a small amount of gas to pay for transactions on some random network, using these refuel features is an amazing way to do that. And so yes, obviously I have used Merkly's gas refuel, I have used the L2Pass refuel, and a bunch of other refuel applications as well. And then the other criteria that they explicitly mention as being Sybil is if you bridged a tiny amount back and forth between different chains, like 1 cent, which honestly is fair. I feel like that sort of thing, especially if you're just sending 1 penny back and forth, is not the same as using refuel features. But the issue with all of this is that the way this blog post is written, even if you had, hundreds of thousands of dollars of actual value-added transactions through, for example, the Stargate Bridge and other legit Layer Zero protocol interactions, then if you used Merkly to refuel, or if you just bridged one valueless NFT, it literally says if you minted a valueless NFT, as in if you minted only one of them. And so this is kind of suggesting that if you did any of the things on this list here, even if aside from that, you're just one unique person with a wallet that was actually a value add to the Layer Zero ecosystem, that you could get filtered out. Now, they've introduced a self-reporting mechanism where you can go and basically snitch on your wallet address over the next 2 weeks. And if you do that, you would get 15% of what you would have gotten otherwise. Not you give up 15%, it's you get 15%. So you would lose 85% of your airdrop. And if you don't self-snitch, then you could potentially get nothing. And then on top of that, they're adding a bounty for people to report other users and then receive a portion of their airdrops as well. So there's a lot to unpack here. I guess let's just start with the last point. I think it's absolutely insane to have this sort of mechanic within a community that's supposed to be sort of building itself up. This is just going to lead for sure to witch hunts and people taking advantage of the system and reporting other people's wallets. I feel like there's really nothing good that can come of this, and you would be better off having a few Sybils slip through the cracks than by implementing some sort of bounty system like this. Next up, on the self-reporting stuff, I'm not going to be doing it personally. I would actually rather get 0 than 15% of the allocation under the circumstances outlined here. And yes, I did actually interact with Layer Zero protocol on at least 3 or 4 different wallets. That is kind of a little bit Sybil-y, but it's not like I'm an industrial farmer spinning up dozens or hundreds of wallets to do this. And let me be clear here, I actually fully support filtering for Sybils, because when people spin up dozens or hundreds of wallets, they are basically taking tokens away from real users. And of course, you don't want people to be able to take advantage, but in my opinion, it would actually be better to let a small handful of Sybils slip through than to accidentally weed out some legitimate users from the airdrop. Now, after releasing this blog post, there's been a whole lot of backlash. So the founder of Layer Zero has been backpedaling on Twitter and saying that basically if you are a real user, you should be fine. And now they're introducing the concept of there being some nuance in here, and if you only used applications like Merkle, then you would be excluded. But if you ever used it, then you wouldn't be excluded, which is fine. But if that's the case, then why was the blog post written like this? So either they butchered the Sybil criteria or they butchered the comms around it. And either way, it's not that hard to get right. Your protocol is supposed to be worth 10 or even $20 billion, but you either can't set out a simple and clean set of anti-Sybil criteria, or you don't have a comms person that can clearly articulate what it's going to be. Either way, not a great situation. I feel like it's actually not that hard to have a solid airdrop with a reasonable set of criteria and to also filter out Sybils so that the vast majority of people getting that airdrop are actually unique, real users. So this is my pitch for how airdrops should be. Just use a simple tier-based system that has a set of reasonable criteria, and at each tier you have to meet a certain number of those criteria in order to get the airdrop. And then on top of that, you can use an anti-Sybil filter that would weed out the vast majority of these industrial Sybil farms. Probably would let some people slip through the cracks, but honestly, that's better than excluding real unique users. So my proposal for a reasonable anti-Sybil filter would be something like this. Have 2 of 5 of these things. 1, an ENS or a .eth domain, because honestly, those are a little bit expensive and you're not gonna buy that for 100 wallets if you're trying to Sybil an airdrop like Layer 0. Next, use some on-chain metric of TVL, like having a 0.1 ETH balance, or maybe having an NFT that's valuable, or something along those lines to weed out Sybils as well. Because again, if you're trying to spin up dozens or hundreds of wallets to farm airdrops on an industrial scale, you're not going to be able to keep 0.1 ETH in each wallet. That would be way too expensive. And people that are trying to farm airdrops like this are always moving their capital around and mixing it up so that they can try and hit as many different transactions as they can. So those are 2 kind of on-chain anti-Sybil metrics. And then you can use some of these things like Proof of Humanity ID, Gitcoin Passport, Trusta Labs Proof of Humanity, or Galaxy Passport. There's a few other options as well. And I feel like if you have a Sybil criteria that's like have 2 of those 5 things, then that will make sure that basically anyone that is a real unique human being can be included without unreasonably filtering real users. And if we're looking for an example of a protocol that I think has actually done a good job of this, I think Linea is actually a pretty solid example. It's very difficult to do the Linea XP campaigns on multiple wallets. Maybe you could do it on 2 or 3 if you use your family members, but you're not going to be able to do Linea on hundreds or thousands of wallets. And let me just finish my rant by saying this. For people that say that airdrop hunters are entitled or e-beggars, I agree in some cases airdrop hunters can be annoying, but to say that in general is actually not a good take. Because I think you have to remember that this is a symbiotic relationship. These blockchains and protocols and apps need us as much as we want the free airdrops from them, because they are using us to establish TVL metrics and transaction and throughput metrics and all of these different things that they can use to go out and point to for their investors or VCs to raise capital or to actually launch a token at a high valuation and have a 9-figure or a 10-figure exit. They need us users in order to actually get the things that they're trying to accomplish. And the way that they're trying to incentivize this is by offering airdrops. So without all of us, they have nothing. And I think they should keep that in mind. So when it comes to Layer 0, hopefully this is a comms issue and they're going to button it up, because if they're actually moving forward with the Sybil criteria that they outlined word for word in this blog post, that is super bearish. Anyways, let's move now to some more bullish airdrop news. And this is kind of in a similar vein because EigenLayer actually announced that they changed their airdrop criteria in response to community feedback. And so this actually just goes to show that when people are vocal, we actually have the power to change these things. So EigenLayer came out yesterday, just after I finished recording my video for yesterday, and said basically they're giving an additional 100 Eigen tokens to anybody that deposited or interacted with Eigen before April 29th. So that is a massive bump up from the minimum allocation, which previously was 10. Now, they are using some Sybil filtering for this as well, and they haven't actually explained what criteria they are using. But regardless, if you checked your eligibility previously and you were getting something like 10 tokens or 20 tokens, now you should be getting 110 or 120 tokens. And again, this is for people that deposited or interacted with EigenLayer before April 29th. So much further past the snapshot that they had originally indicated of March 15th. Now, in case you're wondering where all of these extra tokens are coming from, basically they're pulling it forward from future rounds of the airdrop allocation because they had set aside a decent chunk of additional Eigen tokens to be allocated afterwards. But I think this is super bullish and it helps the little guy a lot more than it helps the whales, for whom an extra 100 Eigen tokens doesn't move the needle. But if you were only getting 10, this is a massive bump. And then in terms of the lockup and the transferability issues, they've basically confirmed that by the end of September, they say September 30th, 2024, that is when they are targeting actual transferability of the tokens and then liquidity of that. And then the investor and team and VC allocations don't even start unlocking until the tokens become transferable at the end of September. So these are super bullish changes for EigenLayer. Now I love Eigen again, and hopefully we can go back to being bullish on layer 0 if they respond to community feedback. Okay, next up, I wanted to highlight this opportunity from Illuvium. They just launched their beta 4 testing platform, and a bunch of people in my Discord got early access because I had an early invite code. And those people are currently playing the game in beta and competing to earn 200,000 ILV tokens as an airdrop for being a beta tester, which is pretty solid. But the Illuvium team has confirmed to me that this isn't the only opportunity, and if you want to actually go now and register, all you have to do is connect an email address. At this point, you can even use a burner if you want to. But if you sign up for beta access, you might actually get in at a future date or for a future round of the beta 5 maybe, and still have an opportunity to play the game early and then to actually get some incentives for doing that. So even if you missed out on the beta 4 round, I would say it's still actually worth visiting. You might as well sign up and you might get a chance at some point in the future to test it out. Next up, an airdrop that is actually claimable right now is for FriendTech. So the token was launched today, and I think I should be able to claim here. Yeah, so you'll notice in the app now, there's a little chest here that says airdrop. So if you click on that, you can claim your tokens, and I am going to claim 1.9 friend tokens. I thought I was actually going to be getting 19 tokens instead of 1.9. I guess I didn't see the decimal point. So yeah, I didn't use FriendTech all that much, but if you did farm the FriendTech airdrop, it's now claimable. The token is live and trading. I see, okay, there's actually additional steps that I need to complete if I want to claim the rest of my 19 tokens. Now, unfortunately, it's basically dumped completely since the launch. It's not worth all that much. Currently, one friend token is worth about $1.90, although at one point it had dumped to less than $1, so I guess it's recovering a little bit. Okay, moving on. If you farm the Li-Fi/Jumper airdrop, you can now see your experience points and your rank, including what you did in April. So remember, experience points for this only comes through monthly at the start of each month. And now actually you can go and update your customizable PFP if you unlocked another tier. You might have additional ways to actually customize your little character. Okay, next, for the Puff airdrop, game 1 is almost over. It's actually a little bit of a nail biter right now. It's looking like the Shaka bag is going to win. So hopefully this holds out, because I put the vast majority of my tokens into Shaka, and whichever bag ends up in the middle in, I guess, an hour and 42 minutes, that bag is going to be the winner, and it's going to share a big Puff prize airdrop amongst only the people that deposited into the correct bag. So by the time you're watching this, you'll probably actually be able to go and see who has won. Moving on, yesterday I talked about how Aperture Finance had to change their point system again. Well, now they've changed it yet another time. This is like the third time they've changed their point system in the last couple of weeks. So I guess they responded to community feedback from OGs and slashed all the points totals that you get for doing these different activities, whereas previously they had added them. So honestly, I don't know what's going on over there. They still kept the daily raffle and the daily streak thing going on. So if you want to come back daily, you can do that. And then I guess I should mention, I am trying to keep this daily airdrop task checklist up to date. So I did add the Aperture Finance one in. I added the one also for the Particle Network if you're trying to farm the party airdrop. And then a few things have ended, so I've put them down here in the ended section. And then of course we've got the weekly and monthly checklist as well. So if you want to use this, I'll leave a link to it down below. And every time I've mentioned one of these, like SyncSwap, for example, you just have to click on the link here and it will bring you over to SyncSwap. So hopefully you found this video useful. As always, sorry for the long rant at the beginning, but honestly, this layer 0 situation has got me feeling a type of way. And it's not that hard to get airdrops right, is it? I feel like it shouldn't be. Anyways, have a great day.